Aloha, everybody. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. And I have a really amazing guest who is on the phone right now. And let me get his little intro to let you know who he is. His name is Arthur Furstenberg. He is an American author and activist on the subject of electromagnetic radiation and health. He is the founder of the independent campaign group, the Cellular Phone Task Force, and he's the author of The Invisible Rainbow, A History of Electricity and Life. So thank you so much for joining me today, Arthur.
Thank you for having me.
So your book is quite amazing. I was reading a little bit of an expert excerpt of what Tina Leah on Maui put out for HawaiiUnites.org around the mosquitoes that they're saying that the mosquitoes are causing avian malaria that are killing all of the birds. And you have a different story about what's killing the birds. Can you share what that is with us?
Well, yeah, Tina actually asked me to look into it and write an article. And when I looked into it, I was astonished um, because there is a team called the Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project. Um, and in 2019, they tried to establish another population of these rare endangered birds called kiwikiu, also called parrotbills, of which there are an estimated less than 150 left in the world, and they're all in the high forests of Maui. And they wanted to establish a second population across in another section of forests. And so they captured some wild birds from the reserve that they live in, and they also have been breeding uh, captive birds for a couple of decades. So they took some captive birds and some wild birds, and they released them into the new reserve that they wanted to establish for these birds. And basically, they all died, except for three of them. And when I read in detail the report that they wrote about this restoration project, I was astonished because what they did was they attached radio transmitters to every bird that they released.
Mm.
And three of the birds,
Yeah, I want to say one thing real quick. I'm going to leave the description. I'm going to leave a link to the article that Arthur is referring to in the description. So if you want to read about it, you can. Go ahead, Arthur.
yes, three of the birds that they released, they have sharp bills, like parrots. That's why they're called parrot bills.
Mm.
Three of the birds
I'll
managed
get a
to
picture.
remove their transmitters after after they were released, and those birds survived. And in fact,
Mm.
they survived for a long time. One of the birds was sighted in the forest that they released it into 632 days after they released it. All the other birds
Wow.
that did not manage to remove their radio transmitters, and they originally had planned to release 14 of them, and then a few of them died, and a few of them were inappropriate, and they eventually released. They were going to release 10 of them. Two of them died immediately after they put the radio transmitter on the birds. They finally released, I think, 8, and out of those, they all died except the 3 that managed to remove their radio transmitters.
Wow.
And their
So
conclusion is that
yeah,
all of the birds died of malaria. They did not even look at what the effect of this technology was.
yeah, yeah.
But since
So
I've been
again,
studying electromagnetic fields and radio frequency radiation for decades, That's the first thing that occurred to me. Hey, they're putting radio transmitters on these birds. They all died except the ones that didn't have them.
That took them off,
So,
that were able to take them off.
yeah, it pecked them
So
to death.
you've been studying this for a long time, and they are saying, they're releasing billions, billions, yeah, what is it, 40 billion per year, of these mosquitoes injected with the Wolbachia bacteria that once it's in the environment, it can't get out. And this bacteria has been shown to enhance diseases like malaria, elephantitis, syphilitis. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but you're saying that it's from it can be from something else that they're not even looking into. And so can you share a little bit about what your book is about, The Invisible Rainbow, A History of the Electricity and Life?
It's about the health and environmental effects of electromagnetic fields and electromagnetic radiation. And from 1746 until today, I tell the whole history, starting with technology to harness static electricity up through electric batteries, up through direct current, up through alternating current, up through wireless communication, sending electricity through the air instead of through wires, and up through what we have today, where everybody on Earth is being given a cell phone and irradiating themselves intensely. And what this has done to world health and world environment, increasing exponentially in the last 25 years, 30 years since we started to have cell phones.
Yeah.
And
So what did you
it's just
see? You said you started
fascinating.
this in the 1700s. You started looking at the history of this in the 1700s. What started it?
Uh, the Leyden jar was invented in the year 1747 in Leiden. It's a city in the Netherlands. And that was a way, it's a jar partly filled with water that they stored static electricity in. And it was the first way that they harnessed electricity before the invention of the electric battery. And it was used for electrotherapy even in the 18th century. So there are a lot of science was done, a lot of articles were written, a lot of reports were written in newspapers, magazines. We have a lot of records of the effects of electricity on human beings, anyway, as early as 1747.
And so what is it showing with electricity and and the human body? What did it start to show?
Let me see. Let me read you a little bit of this table that I have in first the first chapter of my book, the second chapter of my book. Where is it?
So
Here we
again, this
go.
is The Invisible Rainbow that he's going to be reading from. This is author Arthur Furstenberg, and he's been studying this for many, many decades, sharing a whole another narrative of why native birds are having issues right now. And go ahead, Arthur.
This is from Table 1 of my book, Effects of Electricity as Reported in the 18th Century. There were therapeutic effects, because as I said, this was used in electrotherapy, that electricity was first touted as a cure-all for all these diseases, including deafness, blindness, lameness, everything. They used electricity to treat it, with some success. Dizziness, nausea, headaches, nervousness, irritability, mental confusion, depression, insomnia, drowsiness, fatigue, weakness, numbness, and tingling, muscle and joint pains, muscle spasms and cramps, backache, heart palpitations, chest pain, colic, diarrhea, constipation, nosebleeds, hemorrhage, itching, tremors, seizures, paralysis, fever, respiratory infections, shortness of breath, coughing, wheezing, asthma attacks, eye pain, eye weakness, and eye fatigue, ringing in the ears, and metallic taste. These were effects of electricity reported before the year 1800. And there are still effects reported today from use of cell phones, living near cell towers,
Hmm.
and
No, I
these are
definitely
just,
have had some of those symptoms for sure. And
yeah.
I always keep my phone off. I either turn it off or have it on airplane mode and away from my head when I sleep. But definitely I've had twitching, uh, well, definitely some insomnia and different things like that. So they're saying that they found these after they started using the electromagnetic frequencies for dealing with
They
different
weren't
various
frequencies.
diseases,
This was just static electricity.
static
They had
electricity.
machines. They had machines that tapped the static electricity in a lighted jar and administered it to people.
Wow.
That's
So
it. Static
what was the
electricity is what
next?
you get when you walk across a carpet. You touch a metallic object and you get a spark. This is what they
Mm,
were delivering to people. And then after electric batteries were invented in the year 1808, they started using batteries to deliver electricity to people. And then they started using alternating current when that was invented. And basically, the reports were the same, that artificial electricity is not healthy for human beings. And what we've done first by stringing electric wires all around the world, but then much more recently by shooting it through the air, we are now irradiating every square inch of the planet, and that is
mm.
leading to the demise of the Earth. It's become an emergency.
Yeah, so it's not about like they're saying it's about these mosquitoes and there's releases mosquitoes to help with the population. But what's super funny and actually not funny is that we've actually asked them, how are you going to measure the effects of this experiment? How are you going to show that these birds are coming back with this mosquito release that you're saying will save the native birds? And their comment was, that's not part of their experiment. So that's obviously not the reason for these injected mosquitoes that they're releasing here on the islands that we are working to stop without an EIS. And they're not even looking into the possibility about what you're talking about these 5G towers. And the thing is the human body has
It's
a
not just it's
frequency
not
or
just
energy.
5G. It's
Hmm.
all wireless
It's
technology.
correct.
There's this concept among the public that wireless technology was safe until 5G, and that's far from the truth. Um, the other thing about these birds is that the new reserve that they were trying to create is located right below an antenna farm on top of what's the name of that mountain? Red Hill, on top of the volcano, which
Wow.
has 20 towers and I don't remember exactly, 100 and something antennas or hundreds of antennas. Let me see if I can find it in the article I wrote. I don't remember the
And then in the
number.
article you wrote, it also
It's
said that the birds
159
were
antennas on 20 telecommunication towers on top of Red Hill. And there is cell phone antennas, internet, radio, television, government, police, military, all kinds of signals that are being blasted on this reserve. And that's where they're trying to introduce them. And I recently got communication from Tina Leah, saying that now they want to put cell towers to cover the reserve that they're trying to save these birds in the reserve, not just on top of Red Hill, but they want to cover that part of Hawaii, of Maui, which is presently not covered in some parts by cell phone technology. So
oh my gosh.
they
And I
want
was
to
reading in your
irradiate
article that
everything.
you were saying that the birds are actually hiding from the radio waves. They're nesting underneath a certain area where there's no radio frequencies. Was that right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's right. Yeah, the what is it? The Haleakala volcano. Um,
Hmm.
they're living north of the ridge, they said on the windward side of the volcano instead of on the leeward side of the volcano, and the recovery project people were wondering why the birds don't go over to the leeward side where they would be more protected from the elements. And it's because the crest of the volcano gets in the way of the radiation from Red Hill, and it blocks all the radiation, and they don't have it on the other side, so that's where they have retreated to. And they're claiming that they retreated there because there are no malarial mosquitoes up there. Well, possibly that's true, but they're also claiming that these mosquitoes are responsible for the death and the eventual extinction of every bird, whereas all of the scientific literature, which I researched before I wrote this article, says that only about 10 to 15% of these birds will ever actually come down with malaria, and the rest will become resistant to it. So this theory that malaria is this mortal, lethal threat that's going to drive these birds to extinction is probably not true. And when you look at the terrain and where the radiation from Red Hill reaches and where it doesn't reach, the birds are hiding out exactly in the area where they get no radiation.
That says a lot. That says a lot. So again, this article is going to be in the description. You guys can read it for yourself, and definitely be looking for his book. Arthur, your research for how many is like you've been doing research, studying this for a very long time, for decades. And what else did you want to share about this? Because this is something that we all should be concerned about. You know, when you're looking at your health, you know, the things that you need to look at, that people know to look at, is water, good water, clean food, exercise. And now it's really understanding that the magnetic frequency of the phones, of your Wi-Fi, does affect your health. So turning that off at night, getting a better sleep, is really crucial. But anything else you want to share about this? Because I know you've been studying this for a long time, and wasn't there another issue with what was it? It was a certain illness that happened when the radio frequency, a new radio frequency, was introduced into society.
Well,
Do
I
you want
have
to talk a little?
chapters in my book about diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, which, if you really look at the history of those diseases, they are being primarily caused by this radiation. Um, Back a couple of centuries ago, well, in the late 17, I think in 1789, the first book on diabetes was written, and the person who wrote that book had only ever seen 2 cases in his lifetime. Um, this is not the result of diet. It's not the result of lack of exercise. We're getting more exercise now than we did back then. They ate plenty of sugar back then. This is the result of a decrease in metabolism. We're interfering with metabolism at the cellular level by this radiation interfering with electron flow in your mitochondria. And this is what's causing us not to be able to process the results of digesting our food properly. So sugars build up in your bloodstream and get excreted in your urine. You have diabetes. Fats build up in your bloodstream, get deposited in your coronary arteries, and you have heart disease. Cancer results from at least according to a theory that's becoming more and more widely accepted, from oxygen deprivation. And this is also what happens, is we're being deprived of oxygen by interfering with electrons flowing from the digestion of the food we eat to the oxygen we breathe. You've got to eat and breathe, and we're interfering with that process. It's just as simple as that. The problem with turning off your cell phones at night is if you want to use them during the day, all the cell towers have to be there, and the whole Earth has to be irradiated at all times, and this is killing off all life on the planet. So I'm involved in building a coalition to educate the public that we are killing ourselves and the planet with radiation. We've got to get rid of our cell phones first and foremost. Because there are 15 billion mobile devices on the planet.
Hmm.
They cannot be there without the Earth being killed.
Wow, this is really, really big. And I know that people are going, no way, I'll never get rid of my cell phone. And I remember when we didn't have cell phones. It was wonderful. It's like, you get your phone call, you get your messages when you get home. And it was a lot simpler life back then than it is now. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you're kind of freaking out by this, just check out his book, Invisible Rainbow. That I'm going to put the link for that book is in the description, as well as the article that he's referring to in the description below. But it's when our birds start to die and when our honey, and I know that the bees are having issues now too. Do you want to speak a little bit about the honeybees?
Honeybees they're calling it colony collapse disorder, and yes, that's due to this radiation as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of science on that.
So if you're listening and you're thinking,
And
there's
in
no way I'm going
fact,
to give up my,
in my yard, I didn't have any plums on my plum trees because there were no bees that pollinated them this past
oh
year.
man.
But I have tall Siberian elm trees. They're the tallest trees in Santa Fe, New Mexico. My neighbor has, I don't know, 10 trees on his property, and there were 30 or 40 ravens every winter and spring that roosted there. And this past year, they were gone. No ravens anymore. And this is all from the radiation. It's the radiation from the cell towers, and it's the radiation from, now there's 9,000 satellites in space beaming
That's
radiation to
right.
the Earth. Why? So people could use their cell phones everywhere on Earth.
Yeah. So this is a big, big issue, big, big topic. And I know that society is going to be not thrilled with this. And it's just something to look at. It's something to look at and start something to acknowledge because the first thing is knowledge. You have to see what is happening in order to fix it. You know, these the DLNR, BLNR of Hawaii, wanting to release billions of mosquitoes forever with a certain bacteria that enhances the very diseases that they're saying are causing the deaths of the native birds, and they're not going to be even looking to see if this is helping the native birds. That's a whole different topic with those mosquitoes. And looking at something else, that what else could be the cause of the native birds dying off. The very, Arthur's talking about the experiment they did with putting the radio frequency transmitters on the birds, and the only ones that survived were the ones that actually were able to take off the radio transmitters. That article that you can read about that.
And they've
But Arthur,
survived for
thank you.
years.
They survived for years, and the other ones died within days, like if not right away. So, thank you so much, Arthur. Anything else? Any last things you want to share with us? I'm going to put your book link for your book in the description, and give some people some other tips around what they can do. But anything else you want to share around this? This is a
No,
big, big
thank you very
topic.
much.
So I always do prayers at the end of my talk, and I just let's just go ahead and drop in, you guys, because I know that this is people thinking, oh my God, I can never live without my cell phone, or I can never live without my Wi-Fi. I use Wi-Fi. This is how I do my business as well. But and there is this world is definitely going toward a new future. So let's just call in the future that we all want to see. So, great spirit, infinite intelligence of all things, that you're beating our hearts, you're breathing our bodies. Our DNA literally says God eternal within the body. You are here with us. You always have been, you always will be. And we know that there is so much truth happening on the planet right now. And the light is here, and the light is shining forth on what it is that this world is really, really about. And we just give so much gratitude for the inner strength, for Arthur for his tenacity in researching this topic and his courage to bring out this topic in his books and his speaking engagements and just wanting to share the truth of what is happening. We just give so much gratitude for his journey because it has not been easy. And we give so much gratitude for all people who are watching and listening and looking for the truth and wanting to just take one small action toward making this world a better place, toward not following the narrative of the mainstream, but actually following their own guided intuition that comes from their heart that speaks to you, Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things, which is guiding every single person on the planet. And we give so much gratitude for their inner strength in helping to bring forth a new world of peace, of harmony, of amazingly good health, vibrancy, energetic frequency of love and of harmony, of peace, of unity for all people around the planet. Just gives so much gratitude, knowing that we stand true in the knowingness that we are all here together to move this world forward, making it a better place for all people. And we know that the darkness, which is running the planet right now, causing wars, on funding both sides of the war, not speaking the truth around really what is happening with the birds and the honeybees and all of it, that they're being exposed, that it is absolutely being exposed, and that the people are stepping up. The people are stepping up in courage and in faith and in the knowingness that we have one voice, that we want peace and we want good health for all people. And new inventions are happening every day that support the planet, that support people's health. And we just call those forth now. We just say that those amazingly new inventions that bring about amazingly good health for all people, that have birds flourish in their environment, that have honeybees flourish in their honey and their colonies. And we just give so much gratitude to those inventors who are courageous to bring forth new inventions that make this world a better place, that all people can live in harmony and love and in unity with themselves, their family and friends, their neighbors, and the world. And we know it is done. And we call it forth now. And so it is. Arthur, thank you so much for joining me. And everyone, I will see you on the next interview. Much aloha. Oh, I do want to say one thing is that Transworld Metals is my sponsor for this channel. So if your retirement or money is in fiat dollars, please check out Transworld Metals Ltd.com, Transworld Metals Ltd.com, and move your, it's a really good idea. I'm not a financial advisor, but moving your retirement and or just buying precious metals would really support the what's coming with our economy, which is going to become a lot better as well. So sending you guys so much mahalo and aloha from the Big Island.